How can I become a South African patriot when the politicians and big business owners put money over everything else? They refuse to build strong borders. They are happy to hire foreigners themselves, your neighbors, and they sell the few resources we have to people abroad without sharing the spoils with the rest of us. Where they fix streets, infrastructure, and ensure top-notch security for traveling guests, what we call tourists or diplomats. And then they turn a blind eye to the local citizens/children who get exploited, oppressed, killed, and raped daily. And I raised this in the context of we're going to have the G20. And I remember Cyril Ramaphosa prioritizing it. I remember Panyaza Lesufi, the Premier of Gauteng, prioritizing it, that they're now fixing. I think Tada Morero, the mayor of Johannesburg, they're fixing certain roads. They're going to make sure electricity just for G20.
You're right. I mean, I think it was for the first time I saw Cyril reprimand a premier or anyone in his cabinet. I remember he was on the news saying, I don't like the state of Joburg. And premier is there. I don't like the state of Joburg. It has to be ready for the G20. And then you're like, how?
But we live with this G20 every day.
Yeah, that is now every single day. Why now? What's so important about the G20 summit that it has to be fixed? So the daily occurrences and the people you're speaking about, the children, they go through this every single day. Is it deliberate? Is it not? And as you live throughout South Africa and you realize what you're speaking about, the free market, it's that it's almost like the citizens believe in communism and the leaders believe in capitalism.
That's correct.
That is the craziest thing, is that we are not connecting the dots. Or maybe we choose not to. But it's what I've realized is that it's exactly that, in fact, how we live and our ideologies between the citizens and big business and big politicians, separate ideologies.
I haven't finished reading this, but I'll carry on. But to deviate a bit more, what I was trying to explain is this concept of your president or your king being your father.
Okay.
The queen being your mother. And you look at the examples of people that the citizens felt closer to like that. Utata, Umandela. They'd call him even that. They've never called Thabo Mbeki Utata. They've never called Cyril Ubaba. Whereas Jacob Zuma would be Ubaba.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be Ubaba, sorry.
Yeah.
Uwini Madikizela Mandela would be Umama.
Yeah.
Because it feels like you treat us, and this may not be true, like your own children.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jacob Zuma, we can debate. Umamu Winnie, there was evidence where boys would go to her home and get fed.
Yeah.
And she'd send them somewhere and she'd protect them. She'd go out to protect her boys, who some of them today become about Julius, who would be like, give us a signal, mama, because at certain times I felt like you were protecting me as if I'm your own child.
I mean, there's videos of her breaking apartheid. I don't know what was happening. They're taking kids in a police van. And she's like, these are my children, take them out. She uses those words.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're right. It was very deliberate, yeah.
Okay. The other example I wanted to make,
Yeah.
they fixed streets infrastructure for traveling guests and turn a blind eye. Our government would send a top-notch legal delegation to the ICJ to go and speak about alleged genocide at the Gaza Strip between Israel and Palestine, or Israel and Hamas. They would do that. They would send soldiers to the DRC, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, for peacekeeping.
Yeah, they're still there.
Are they trying to bring them back? But we've got the Cape Flats here.
Yeah.
Here. We've got killings, Makasi here. We don't remember mass top legal representation getting involved. We don't remember soldiers being deployed.
It's what Ntantalax was speaking about now. The whole thing of, during COVID, there were billions. We don't know where they went for COVID.
Sure.
But we've got a drug problem in the country.
Nothing. Turn a blind eye.
Why?
Okay. A free market economy and political system within a nation must be communicated honestly. I think that's always been my frustration with our politicians, even when the ANC sold out. I'm currently reading The ANC Billionaires by Peter Tutoi.
Yeah.
And he chronicles the decision where they moved from the mandate of the Freedom Charter to Anglo-American coming up with their view of what a transition would look like. Yeah. and then getting Abo Mandela to buy into it. And then that whole transitionary phase where Abo Tambo, Abo Thabo Mbeki, Abo Trevor Manuel, Abo Tito Mboweni were all being taught about the type of capitalism and how we must protect the economy and investors and the debt. And Mandela went to the World Economic Forum, and then the tune changed. And then the ANC group that was in London, Vela Pillay, Vishnu Padayachi, they were part of a group called MERG. I forget what it stands for. But they were pushing the left agenda of nationalizer. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to tax like this. But these guys that came back from exile and came back, Thabo, Trevor, Tito, and others, Mandela himself would come in. Sorry, I'll add Jay Naidu of COSATU, who was also left-leaning. They were starting to spend time with the Harry Oppenheimers, the Gavin Rayleigh, the Bobby Cotsels, business, big business, white business, apartheid, colonial business. And they were being co-opted in to be like, you can't do these radical things. We need to work together. And close to CODESA, around CODESA, that's when the conversation started changing. Where now it's no longer about this. And some of the guys coming into exile are being brought into certain companies, even though they don't work. And you realized, yeah, look, kwa better.
Yeah.
And some of us, all we wanted was, Sicilian, just tell us. Guys, we know we're about the Freedom Charter. Yeah. We have decided we are abandoning the Freedom Charter. Because we have conversations with these white guys and they've told us that the market is number one. They what? If we carry on with the Freedom Charter, we might get sanctioned, we might become like Zimbabwe, this might happen, the Berlin Wall has fallen, look at the Soviet Union, they're struggling. That's going to be us, guys. And as your leadership, we are begging you, we are asking you, because we are representing you, to please listen to us because you sent us to speak to these guys. This is what we have learned.
But how are you going to convince them this in a span of, when did they start speaking to Mandela? 86, 88, I think. How are you going to convince them, let's say from 86, 88 to 94, 6 years? How are you going to convince them while you've been fighting for a good 50 years?
So would you suggest that don't tell them anything?
No, you need to tell them, but I think, don't you think it would have been difficult to convince them definitely. Otherwise? No?
Faith, many things were difficult. Chris Hani was assassinated.
Yeah.
How do you tell the nation to calm down?
Yeah, I'm with you.